All right, welcome back, everybody. This is episode 3 in our series of talking to guys and trying to figure out how we cope and survive in modern times. Everybody's Carl Schwartz. I've known you for years, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on here, man.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, anytime. To be open and vulnerable, it takes a special kind of guy, and hopefully we all learn something here.
Yeah.
And like I say over and over, if we help one person, it's 100% worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, we've known each other. You were probably like 16,
Yeah.
probably when we first met.
Freshly at ITC.
20 years,
Yeah.
easy, like 20 years, brother.
It's
20
crazy,
years.
man.
I love it.
It's
I love
crazy,
it.
man.
I love it. But for those who don't know, a little bit about yourself, man. Where are you from? What sort of upbringing did you have?
I was born and raised in Ohio. My family was originally from the Toledo area. We moved to Tiffin when I was like a year old, and I was basically raised in Tiffin. That's where I went to school. That's where I started tattooing. And I now live in the Chicago suburbs. I'm out in Yorkville, Illinois, which is like the very southeastern edge of the suburbs. So it's barely the suburbs. You can still see cornfields until they put a Walmart up.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
But yeah, I grew up in this area, and probably at 22 or 23, I moved to the Chicago suburbs.
Gotcha.
And I've been there ever since.
Now, one thing that you've always been into is art. And not necessarily tattooing, but just art in general. I mean, you were always drawing and painting. Like, I can remember being at work with you, man, and you're just like ignoring everything we're supposed to be doing on your sketchbook. Like parts on the ground, what calls in cue, just drawing.
Doesn't
in
matter
your
the
own
job.
world, dude.
Yep.
In your own, and obviously it's worked out for you, man, because now you make a living putting those doodles on people's skin, and I'm one of them. How did you find that passion? Like, where does your passion from art come from? Like, you got your parents, you got a crazy aunt or something like that.
Crazy aunt.
Crazy
Yeah,
aunt. All right,
crazy
all right.
aunt.
Tell us about crazy aunt.
My Aunt Carrie, rest in peace. She passed away about 11 years ago, but she was my introduction to pop culture, which is kind of what stemmed art. So she was going to comic conventions when they were a bunch of sweaty dudes in like a gymnasium. You know, it wasn't this fanfare that it is now.
Right.
And she would meet all these artists like face to face. You know, it's a much smaller, more intimate setting to where she could sit and talk to a comic book artist forever. So she would collect sketches. And I remember as a kid going to my grandma's house, and my aunt would just be like showing me these like portfolios full of like I don't know if you're familiar with the Hildebrandt brothers.
Okay.
They did the like 70s Lord of the Rings
Okay.
like paintings for like all of that like concept art. It's all like Greg and Tim Hildebrandt.
Okay.
And she has, which I now have actually, like original Greg and Tim Hildebrandt sketches from the, like that era that I grew up seeing. So she kind of like spurred that like interest in art. She always provided me with art supplies too. Like I always had good art supplies growing up. So, and even, I mean, my grandma passed away last year, so we're clearing out her house, and I got like a couple $1,000s worth of paint that like it's all like super high grade paint that was just there left for me by my aunt. So my aunt is what ushered me into art and really kind of gave me all the support that I needed to become an artist.
Dude, that makes so much sense when you say comic books and Lord of the Rings and all like that. Like knowing you the way I know you, that's a light bulb going off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's safe to say then, good day, bad day, whether you want to escape your thoughts, whatever is going on in your head, or if you have something awesome going on and you need to get it out, you're going to a sketchbook, you're going to a canvas. Art is your escape.
It can be. My mom. So I feel like art has its moments where it has been kind of my escape. But doing it as a living kind of throws a weird wrench in it, because there are some days, I had a situation recently, somebody asked me to do tattoo design for them. It's their first tattoo, it's a memorial. And that tattoo tripped me up. Like, there's a lot of emotional weight. Like, I'm not gonna go into all the details, but it was a really, really sad situation. And there was just, I think what she wanted was hard for her to communicate with me. And it was like the idea shifted. So I'm like really struggling with this. And ultimately I sent her back her deposit because I couldn't figure it out. And that's one of those days where I'm like, I don't even really want to, I don't want to draw after that for a couple of days. And then I'll start scribbling something out and it's fine. But when your passion becomes your living, you have to look for outside stuff that isn't drawing. And then like with working out with you, like, and I mean with anyone, me also, like if I have an additional vice like that, I could go like ride my bike around, and then when I go and sit down, my head is cleared out, so I can go back and, you know, sketch, and it does feel really good because you get that rhythm. But when your passion becomes your livelihood, it's harder to use it as a vice.
I understand. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason there's a million Facebook memes about tattoos being ink therapy.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine, because like, not only do you have that physical release, I mean, people probably think we're crazy, but I love the way a tattoo feels 95% of the time. Armpit sucks. Okay. But like, sometimes it feels great. Like my back, great. When you did my calf, I fell asleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's everything. But at the same time, I mean, speaking of a memorial piece, I have memorial pieces, and those are emotional. Yeah. So how do you separate? Because I know you're an empathetic man. And, you know, I'm sure you got people coming in. I mean, tattoos are a therapy. I'm sure you got people coming in all the time. Are you able to separate yourself from the emotion? I mean, I'm sure putting the emotion into art makes better art, but are you able to shut it off at the end of the day, or do you sometimes carry that home?
There's days where you carry it home.
Like something real, not like a 90-year-old grandpa. I'm sure that's easier than a kid.
Yeah, when somebody loses their kid, especially as a parent, or someone, I mean, there's people who've lost their parents that are, you know, you can tell their parents are really, you know, maybe they aren't married, maybe they don't have kids, and their parents are their, you know, their connection to community, to, you know, like, their whole life kind of revolves around, you know, your life revolves around the people that are closest to you, whether it's your friends, your kids, whatever your situation is. So when somebody loses somebody that's so crucial to their being, and that's who they're, you know, commemorating or memorializing, that can be really hard. Mm-hmm. Everyone's in different stages of grief, and you don't know what stage of grief that they're coming to you in. That makes it very difficult. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes they don't even bring it up, and you find out years later that you guided them through this crucial time in their life. Other times, you know, you're kind of struggling through it with them. I've had people that, like, there's moments where I'm like, man, I don't think we should work together, but, you know, we've like pushed through, and then you build a working relationship, and then years later it's like they're a completely different person. Then you find out, you know, they were grieving through something, and to find out years later that you were the one that was patient with them through that is like, whoa. Like, I've been thanked, you know,
right.
But like, it's not like I'm constantly thanked all the time, but there are, in almost 17 years, I think I've been in the tattoo industry, tattooing, whatever, you know, there's a handful of times that people have thanked me, and that is crazy and reminds you of the weight behind what we do.
I'm sure it's humbling. I couldn't even imagine, man.
It's crazy humbling.
Yeah, I bet. But then, I mean, because tattooing itself is kind of crazy if you think about it, because, like, you're literally taking your sketches and somebody likes it enough that they're going to give you money that they earned from their crappy job, be like, hey Carl, I love that tattoo enough that I want it forever on my skin. Usually in a place everybody's ever gonna see it and ask me questions about it. So like, it's just mind blowing, man.
It's very mind blowing. It's mind blowing because, especially at the beginning of your career, a lot of tattooers undercharge, like severely undercharge their own work, because you feel like you're still waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're just happy to be there, and you're like, you'll say a realistic price, which probably isn't, even quite up to what it should be, but in your head you're like, man, is that too much? This was fun.
Okay.
Like, I enjoyed doing this. So like,
So you're like almost fighting your ego with the self-doubt.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it's imposter syndrome. Heavy imposter.
So how do you get past that self-doubt?
I think surrounding yourself with the right artists.
Is there like an aha moment?
No.
No.
Not for me yet. I still struggle with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a constant struggle. The new shop I'm at is I'm coming from a private studio, which was separate rooms. It was each, we were, kind of a collective, but each room is its own separate business.
Yeah.
Like, you intermingle a bit, but it's different than working in a studio that's an open floor plan, where it's a true collective, where you have somebody that's right there all the time.
Right.
To, be like, hey man, like, is this too much to charge? And, they'll be like, that's close, or that's way too low.
Yeah.
Like, that's way too low.
Right.
So having somebody there that can, as a peer, help guide you. And everyone I work with now, my buddy Max, him and I have been tattooing about the same amount of time. And everybody else, I want to say, has been tattooing, 10 years less than us.
Mm.
So, in varying ages.
So you're the adults.
Yeah.
Weird, huh?
Yeah, it's really weird. My buddy John's only been tattooing for like 7 years. He works with us. But John kind of feels like more of the adult. We've just been tattooing longer than him.
Gotcha.
He's a phenomenal artist, but he definitely feels like dad sometimes.
Too funny. So you're in Chicago now. I always feel like growing up, and we talked about this a little bit before, I love Tiffin 99% of the time. This is home at the end of the day. It is. I've always felt myself gravitated towards here. And I feel like you don't have any ill will towards this town at all. But I feel like that same gravity, other than, your mom and pops, till recently your grandparents, you don't have that same gravity. I have always felt that. And it's not a bad thing. So can you maybe put that into words and or a feeling, and also the feeling of now that you're out, do you feel better?
I feel like I knew that I needed to leave to grow. I never really found the place I really fit in fully at the right moment. Like, I have places I do fit in here now that I feel like I fit in, like working at like Sacred Crown in Mansfield, or Drawn to the Surface now, Till Death in Willard. Both of those studios, I just always felt like kind of a home where I could like grow and thrive. Shout out to Brandon Robinson, shout out to Shannon King for giving me those places. Mm-hmm. But while I lived in Ohio, I really struggled to find a studio that I felt like I was going to grow the right way in. I did feel it at Don't Panic towards the end there, but it was, I still felt like I needed to go somewhere to grow in the style or whatever. I couldn't really put a specific point at this one thing that I wanted, but I knew I needed to leave. And I got the opportunity to leave through Ryan Nutini, who's a tattoo artist in the Chicagoland area. Yeah. Deep Cut, he was the apprentice of Dan Plumley, who used to come out here on a regular basis. He was a regular fixture out here as much as he was a staple in the Chicago tattoo scene. And Dan Plumley was somebody who mentored me and gave me a lot of advice early on, I mean, watching Dan tattoo and paint and draw and hang out with him when he would come to the shop that I had started at was a big reason I kind of went the direction I did. So when I met Ryan, we realized, there was that connection. It gave me the opportunity to move out there. It just made sense. He's got a very similar style. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to learn. And they basically said, come out here, you can crash with us for a little bit till you get up and on your feet. And then we can, give you space to work. And they gave me a, good deal around a bunch of great people, and they really made that possible. So getting to move out there, it's like it gave me this space to grow. Also being near an international airport, there's, opportunities to travel. It's way easier to, get Uber to O'Hare. A couple times it's happened where it's like, hey man, do you want to go out to this convention? Like, yeah, dude, I didn't have kids when I first moved out there. Of course, man. Like, I'll put it on a credit card, and next thing I know, I'm on Spirit Air flying to California. And like, to be in a position where you could kind of jet off like that, the shop was supportive of me traveling, was huge. And it just wasn't, those opportunities weren't here. They're not in Tiffin. It's harder to get, a direct flight from Toledo out to anywhere.
Right.
So there's a lot of like logistical, wanting to learn the right group. It's so weird that where I was Chicago was kind of always like a place in the back of my head I wanted to land. So to have somebody that was, 6 degrees of separation, still connected through the tattoo industry, through similar, upbringings, made a difference.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, to be tattoo artist, I mean, yeah, we got a couple here in Tiffin, but I mean, you only have so many before you saturate the market. So I understand you leaving and, want to end up in Chicago. So that's great that you hit that checklist, that milestone. But did you feel better, for lack of a term? You're like, hey, I love Tiffin, but guess what? Everybody knows my name because I, ran my BMX bike and did hood rat shit my whole life. And now I'm out there, and not to say there's more culture, but there's a bigger art scene out there as opposed to in Tiffin. I mean, we made leaps and bounds thanks to some of the local guys here in the community, Galango girls. Yeah. So it's way different than it was 20 years ago. And I'm not saying we rival Chicago, but like I'm just saying when your feet hit the ground out there, did you feel better? I mean, were you like, hey, now I can kind of throw this small town cloak off. Now I don't feel as trapped. Maybe now I can grow. Not grow, because you said you grew, but thrive maybe. Is that the word?
I think at first I really felt that way.
Like a relief almost? Not
like a relief, but I saw how much more wide open it was being closer to Chicago.
Yeah.
So it was, I was kind of riding a high when I moved out there. Like, Cavs, go Cavs. Cavs got, won the NBA Finals, like, right after. So I had this, like, little sense of pride in my hometown. And then that summer was fun, meeting new people, networking, doing conventions, like, a lot of growth opportunities to network. Then one of my coworkers at a Thin Line he'd started tattooing a few professional athletes. I don't follow baseball. I don't care about baseball. It's boring to me, and it should be boring to everybody. But he was tattooing this dude who had like an MLB tattoo on the back of his neck, and I remember like kind of roasting him and my buddy being like, don't do that. Well, that guy was Javi Baez, and that was right before they won the World Series.
Oh no.
So getting to like, which he was really cool. He thought it was funny because I think he knew I didn't know who the fuck he was.
Yeah.
And didn't really care. But like, so it was like this whoa shit moment where like you're meeting professional athletes and everything's kind of going great, and there was a lot of opportunities I feel like to watch like Ryan work and the other tattooers. I met Pony Lawson. Josh Herman, who's another big new school tattooer, Adam Aguas, who I worked with at Sapphire more recently. So there was a lot of meeting these tattooers that I've been following for years, meeting random like famous people I didn't think. So in my head, it was like, whoa, this is it. And then it was like, those things were fewer and farther between. I was traveling more over the next year, making a lot of like, connections that way, which was really cool. I was learning a lot. I was in this like weird like second infancy of my career, where out here I was good at new school. I was consistent. I was quick, and then I move out here, and I'm it almost felt like starting over, to a point. A lot of the new school tattooers in the area were way different than what I was doing. Way more advanced. So I felt like now I have this whole other bar I have to reach. And within the first 2 years, I felt like I'd made a lot of strides towards that, but I'd also exposed a lot of the things that I struggled with. So as far as feeling better, I think at first, but once the rose-colored glasses came off, the realities of living in Illinois, it's expensive. They charge you for everything. There is a lot of culture out there, but I think coming back here as frequently as I did, I got to watch, talking about local artists building an art scene, like Chelsea Mullins is hands down one of the big drivers of why this art scene locally, from my perspective, is as good as it is.
I would say her and Nate, and Ryan
yeah,
Punyan.
And Ryan Punyan is also, and those are people that I've known for years.
By the way, any of you guys can come on anytime.
You could be here. This could be you. But watching, the people I know, and Chelsea, people I grew up with, literally building the art scene we wanted, and then seeing that it's as good as the art scene in the town that I'm living in. It's like, damn, dude. It seems like I'm being overcharged for the same shit.
Right,
you know what I mean? But I think that everything moves a lot faster out there, which is, I know it's super cliche to say, but it really does. I come back here and it's almost like, I can breathe for a second. And I'm a single parent.
Yeah.
And this past year I was single parenting 2 kids by myself with not a lot of help, and trying to run a business and trying to do that. That made, Ohio sound a whole lot better.
Right.
Because, being able to, drop, that's a luxury a lot of people don't, realize, but being able to drop your kids off at mom and dad's for a couple extra hours to go work, that's huge.
Right.
It's a major luxury. So I think my answer is 2 ways, and I know I've rambled a bunch, but there are aspects that are better, but there's something about home and the sense of community, and the sense of community that exists here that I don't think fully exists out there the same way. Not to say I don't have, I have a handful of people that are good friends that, kept me afloat, that did provide that sense of community. But where you grow up, it's always a little bit, there's a natural pullback.
Well, I think it also would be fair to say out there it's a lot of transplants like you.
Yeah.
That you have to make your community, as opposed to something that I think we probably take advantage or take for granted.
Yes.
That we grow up, everybody does know each other, and everybody knows your siblings, your cousins, your parents, but that community's already established.
Yes.
And even you come and you go, but it's still there. And it might look better. It looks a million times better than it did when we were in high school and we were kids. The downtown area especially, and now, like you said, the art scene, the music scene, it's just, we have an amphitheater now. It's like a whole new world down there for the better, I think.
I agree. And yes, it's like watching how far Tiffin has come, and I'd say, every community's still got issues here or there. There's
Right.
always, loose floorboards everywhere. But overall, to watch Tiffin grow, and, you miss it.
Mm-hmm.
You miss your community, especially when you see how it's growing. I'm like, man, what did I run away from?
Yeah. But before we got here with all these realizations, before you became a father, you had your own struggles. And I've gotten my share of drunk Carl calling me up
Yep.
hey man, I'm at the bar, watching, the Cavs play or whatever you're doing. And dude, it's great to hear from you, but it's Tuesday. Like, you are not sober. Like, what? I mean, it was a long time before we had a sober conversation. So, why did you start? I mean, we always party.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. I mean, everybody does. But, like, how did you fall into that, man? Like, I mean, how did you moved out there? Was it was it homesick? And you would drink to feel better? Were you drinking because you're socializing? Because that's what everybody else, that's all the cool kids doing.
It's a little bit of a lot of shit. I always drank. I started drinking super young.
Yeah, well, I know. That's what I'm saying. You were 16 when we met. I'm not stupid.
And at 16, I was no stranger to alcohol.
Right.
So,
right.
I think it was always a vice.
Right.
The other thing is, I was self-employed. And it didn't help me in tattooing necessarily, but it didn't hurt me like it would hurt me in a normal job. I made my own hours. I was able to come and go as I pleased.
Right.
So to go out and get wasted till 3 in the fucking morning on a Tuesday was it's just a Tuesday. And when I moved out there, it fluctuated a bit at the beginning because, I had all these cool new opportunities, but when the rose-colored glasses came off and you're alone by yourself a lot, especially at the beginning there. I didn't have kids. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, everyone else had kids, family, or their own lives, girlfriends, whatever. I didn't. It was just me out in this different state, and you go to the bar and there's somebody there to hang out with. So
your new best friend.
Your new best friend. And that's what it turns into. And then all of your friends are drinking or related to drinking, or that's where you meet. It wasn't until it was 2020, which was a chaotic year for everybody for a million fucking reasons.
Rona, man.
The Rona, man.
Rona.
You stop this machine and nobody really sees it coming, and we're still running, and boom, everybody crashes into each other.
Straight up, dude, it's like Dad hitting the brakes and everybody smacks that windshield.
Yep. You find out real quick who's wearing their seatbelt.
Right. Literally, man.
So that year, I struggled a lot.
I think everybody did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad.
And I wasn't set up for it. I just moved to a private studio that was booth rent. That was the first time in a booth rent situation. And things were going okay. I was dating someone at the time. We'd been together for a couple of years. But that relationship, we went our separate ways. And now I have this house, and I have a 1-year-old. So it was a lot to adjust to, the world shutting down, my income being completely taken away, and going from being able to tattoo to having to sell random paintings or pieces of art and not fully being set up for that. The stores weren't open. Hobby Lobby wasn't fully open at the time for me to go get the supplies. I didn't have the cash flow to buy these supplies to make this art. So it's a lot of chop and screwing a business together. That stress and being even more alone. When the bars opened back up, I really started drinking heavy. Any day I didn't have my daughter, I was drinking heavy. So I had 2 DUIs prior to this.
So it's safe to say you were spiraling probably for a couple years.
I've been spiraling on alcohol. I've been spiraling on alcohol for probably most of my life without realizing, because it was never, DUIs and stuff like that aren't great, but things move so fast. You're reckless when you're drinking. You ignore all the come to Jesus moments, for lack of a better term. You're just spiraling. And I got pulled over way too drunk. I should have been arrested. I should have gotten a DUI. Third one, which in Illinois is 3 strikes, you're out. I'd lose my license. I probably would have gone to prison. And I have a 2-year-old who I'm in my daughter's life all the time. Like I wasn't like a, here and there dad. Like me and their mom had split custody. So I'm just gone. She has no idea why. And that scared the shit out of me. Like, that's so unfair to put her through that. So that cop let me go for, maybe because I chewed like half a box of gum and I had a mask on and cologne. And I don't know, man.
Praise to God.
Yeah. So then I partied my ass off the rest of that night, and I woke up regretting absolutely everything, and I haven't drank since.
Really?
And it'll
cold
be
turkey.
Cold turkey. It'll be 6 years. This coming December or November 16th. It'll be 6 years. So, yeah, man, it was a lot of it. There's always a chemical dependency.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of it is mental. A lot of it was mental. Like when you're that alone and your only community you can find easily is at a bar.
Right.
Because you notice when you take the bar out of the equation, you're still alone all the time. Like you
all your best friends are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to come over and play video games.
You're no fun.
Yeah, dude. So that was a huge adjustment in my life. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. I've tried to quit drinking so many times before that, and I would go a couple months and then fall off. And it would be like a beer, once every couple weeks, and then there's one night where you're like, oh, this is fun again, and then you go back to it. And I think that the idea of not being able to be present in my daughter's life because of dumb decisions I made, like, I just didn't want to hurt her and just remove myself for pure selfishness. And I got lucky. Like, there was no car accident, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, sometimes someone ends up killed in these situations. Like, I needed to check out and never look back, towards alcohol before, it got any worse than it was. So, thankfully, I was able to pull it off. But it's scary, dude.
Yeah.
It's scary, the implications of those decisions.
So you don't have an escape anymore in the bottle drink. Nobody's ever found solutions to a problem at the bottom of the bottle, right? But you don't have that anymore. You can't just numb it. So how do you cope now? You got a bad day, you can't go buy a 6-pack.
Yeah. I do smoke weed.
Okay.
But the first year was weird because that first year your body is adjusting the lack of a chemical you've been dumping into it forever.
It's more dangerous to go off of alcohol than it is opioids.
Yes.
So,
chemically I didn't have...
Depending on how bad it is.
Yeah, chemically it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It was more of like a mental issue. It wasn't super easy, but it wasn't super terribly hard. The beginning of that was a lot of the rush was like, oh, she's been like, 4 or 5 weeks. Now it's been 3 months. And so that was good for a little bit. And then I picked up riding bikes again. Like I got a BMX bike and started rebuilding that. So there's a lot of components of that, like really distracting myself with everything else. After COVID, I wasn't trying to do, I was creating art for work, but even that was like extra stress, like at that point. But once I started riding a bike, it was like I would go home and just draw for a couple hours just for fun. Because I removed all the extra bullshit in my head that was, creating that barrier.
Right.
So I think just distracting myself. The physical component of riding a bike it's such an intense workout, and you can get a full body workout, a heavy full body workout in 15 minutes just floating the skate park. And you can go home and you're good. And, you don't have to go to the gym for hours, and you can get a full cardio and like build some muscle. That was huge for me. Then I had another kid, and then biking kind of took a little bit more of a backseat because 2 kids is a lot.
Yeah, it is.
That's
why there's 12 years in between mine, man.
Yeah. Mine are about 3
Yeah.
years apart, 3.5, and they're close enough in age to where everything's a battle.
Oh yeah.
But they're far enough apart to where, like, it's like you don't get out of this, state. My one kid is like, just potty trained, and then the other one comes along, is a baby, and then you're starting all over. Now they're 4 and 8, almost 5 and 8, so they're becoming more independent. So I'm just now, I think, getting back to that point where got a little bit more, we can go to the skate park, and it, like,
you don't have to worry about them eating rocks.
Exactly, man. Like, they know what can cause their demise a little bit better, so I don't have to remind them.
A little bit. I always say that birthdays, man, it's not so much like you did anything, but not die.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more like, and when they're that little, it's like, hey, I kept you alive for another year. Like, you like being a girl dad?
I love being a girl dad.
Do you?
Yeah. They're so smart, and they're so funny.
Yeah.
And they're
riots.
Dude.
At least they think they are.
They are, though, man. They keep you on your toes, because they want to litigate.
Yeah.
Like, whereas a boy is like, really? Man? And then they kick some dirt and then they walk away.
That is so Max.
Whereas, like, Laurel's like, well, why not? Because I heard that. And then it goes into this whole thing, and I'm like, shit, I think she might be right.
Yeah.
At the end of this whole thing.
She might be.
Do I back down? And, like, do I need legal representation to explain why we don't have to go to the park right now? Because it's 6:45 and we're on thin time margins. But she's like, we got more than enough time. It only takes 5 minutes to walk there. And I'm like, shit, she's right. So they're fun.
Yeah.
They're great. They give you such a different perspective on life, and I think that was something that I didn't have before. And
did you need it?
Yeah, I absolutely needed it.
Maybe God or the universe or whatever. It's like, Carl,
something
you need to stick around a little bit longer, and here's the reason why.
Yeah, I think that tattooing's great, but I think in your early 20s, late teens, early 20s, like, I got into tattooing super young.
Yeah.
It gave me this purpose, but it wasn't this almighty purpose. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like that when I was younger, but the longer, you do it, it's really cool and it's really fun. But you start to think, is this it? Is this all it is? Is just, like, going through the motions? Like, tattooing was going great, but everything else in my life was just kind of like all over the place. If you ask, how my life is going, I couldn't really give you a straightforward answer. I don't really know. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
I was just, getting to work the next day.
Yeah.
So,
like, your career was good.
Yeah.
But everything else was kind of
stagnant. Yeah, there was no point, it felt like, to it. When my daughter came along, it changed the way I felt about everything. Like,
but not enough to stop drinking.
Not enough to stop drinking.
Then.
Not at the beginning. And
you said she was 1 when you had your coming to Jesus moment?
She was 2.
She was 2.
She was 2. So when my daughter first came along, I'd cut way back on drinking.
Okay.
Because I had a lot less extra time. I had, we had like a 50-50, midweek split schedule.
Yeah.
So, there's all this time I'm spend time with my kid.
Right.
I'm not out at the bar. And I was dating someone at the time. So, like, we were, we did a lot of stuff together. It wasn't, I didn't need to seek out this,
the lonely drinking.
External. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't trying to fill a void.
Okay.
It was COVID threw a wrench in everything. You know, me and the girl I was with had split up. It was, you know, me, you know, I had Laurel, but, you know, she would go with her mom. The whole world's shut down. Like, you're drinking by yourself. And then when the doors open, like, oh, now I can go to the bar. Now you're going out to the bar to drink again because now you have and that really spiraled. I think that was probably the worst that it got was that summer.
Well, it's because everybody was pent up. And
Yeah.
I think everybody got crazy. And it was not good for anybody's mental health.
No.
At all. I mean, we're social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I don't like to admit that I need other humans, you know,
You do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So it was, you know, it was just something that had ramped up to a point where, and that's where I think, because it wasn't such a chemical withdrawal as much as it was a mental readjustment.
Because it wasn't daily, it was like binging.
It
was like
that
a
was
frat
exactly
boy.
what it was. It was binging. You know, I'm kid free. I'm gonna go out and get wasted.
Why not?
Because I can.
Right,
Because the next week I will have my kid.
right.
And I'm not gonna like do anything. I'm not during COVID. I'm not gonna see anyone. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean. So like, I'll get all this social stuff out now, all in one night, and then, you know, go back to being a normal human. Well, you know, that spirals quickly.
Mm.
Like when it's like any open opportunity you have, you're filling it with like alcohol. Like the relationships you make in that period of time aren't healthy.
Mm.
The decisions you make aren't healthy. It's like you're almost separating who you are from who you are when you're drunk, and it doesn't work that way.
Mm.
Like, so I don't know. Once I got out of, you know, I would say like 3 to 4 months out, your brain really starts to put itself back together, and you start to really reflect.
You start not counting hours after a drink or days, and you start going to the weeks, and it's like, oh yeah, it has been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reflect on who you were when you drank, and it's fucking embarrassing.
It is.
You're fucking embarrassment. And maybe not everybody is, but I felt like I was. Like, you go through just like this bout of shame
Mm.
that is, I think that's one of the biggest humps to get over, is having to face who you are
Mm.
and having to face it without that vice. My kids gave me, you know, a reason to, you know, like really reflect and like, you know, you have to think about it in a sense of like, am I going to try every single day to be a better person? Or am I going to dwell on the fact that I was a shithead for this amount of time, and well, fuck it. I've just always been a shithead, always be a shithead.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. It just, kids help guide you. Like, I don't know. It's
They make you think of things that you never would have thought of without.
yeah.
I mean, they really do. Like, yeah, I always thought about like retiring and whatnot, but now I have to worry about not retiring, but what's going to happen to Max.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's my thought. So like, not only, I mean, and that's a macro problem, but like, I mean, we have the dailies. Hey, how the kids doing in school? You know, they making friends. You know.
Yep.
Max got his first fight this year. Like, oh, dude, he won. Oh, he won. Don't take his toys. Don't make the Hulk out, and you won't have a problem. All right. Like, he did not get in trouble.
When he's angry.
Yeah, he did not get in trouble because the other kid, you know. But like I said, you start thinking of stuff more in the macro and the long term. Like, yeah, you were still drinking when you had your daughter, but like, you have that coming to Jesus moment, because I'm sure you were like, I want to see her get married. I want to see my grandkids. I want to, like, and that's where I'm at. I want to. I have to be here as long as possible, because nobody's going to take care of my kid and love my kid the way I do, the way my wife does. Like, I want to see. I have a granddaughter now. I want to see her as long as possible. I would love to see her get married and have her own kids, and be a great granddad. You know what I mean?
Dude.
Like, I'm young enough. I can hit that.
Yeah.
if, and we can hit the macros if we take care of the micros.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just crazy how the kids make you think of things in a completely different perspective. Like, you're not the center of the universe anymore.
100%. Well, it makes you, like, how do you look at your kids and expect them to have a good moral compass when, you're not making the best decisions for your health, for your relationships, for all of those things? How can you guide them when you're not even doing that for yourself? Like, the perspective shift with having kids, and then getting, a lot of the joys of childhood, brought back. Like, you take them to the park and they're so stoked about this one slide. Like, this one thing has just brought them so much joy, and they're so proud that they were scared, and then they got up it, and, like, it's like reinvigorating. You know what I mean? Like, you remember why, you were happy for no reason when you were a kid. And that's cool.
And I honestly feel that, like, that's why so many of us, especially that have gone through some sort of trauma, do fall into substances. Okay? The one thing I always relate to is LSD. There's not a whole lot of studies on it, but they have done some. And when they hook your brain up to a CAT scan, you process things like you are a child again. And that's for good or bad. The pure joy and the pure horror, that's how you have bad trips. But, because we see a dog a million times. It's like, that's another dog. But they are like, dude, this is the coolest thing. He's so fluffy. And, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing with the slide. Like, this is the coolest slide. And I feel like when we get to adulthood, and they're like, man, this sucks. They lie to us.
Yep.
And then we start chasing that, that slide feeling, that dog feeling, whatever it is, because you do get that immediate dopamine rush, from the alcohol, the drugs, whatever it is. And then that's when it gets bad.
Yeah.
This is when you start to use that as your escape. So,
because you don't realize you're using it as an escape.
You don't. You just know you're chasing that feeling, and you feel good for that little bit.
Yep. Especially with alcohol, because it's such a socially accepted thing.
Right.
It's such a common thing. Like, hey, let's go out for a drink after this.
Or you go to a gathering, the first thing they say, hey, how you been, man? You want a drink?
Yep.
As soon as you walk in the door.
Yep. And it's so, like, you're getting that without realizing that's what you might not even be looking for it, but once you found it, you're like, oh, this is nice. So it spirals out of control quickly.
Right. I would almost want to see the numbers. Like, I know Gen Alpha drinks less than we did, which is amazing, and tobacco use is down, all that good stuff. But I wonder if there's almost an inverse correlation of Ubers. If drinking among our age has gone up because Ubers is so much easier. Now you don't have to worry about getting a DD. You know what I mean? It'd be something interesting to look into. So, but no, I don't want to beat a dead horse with your tattooing. I want to talk about more. You are always miserable. Like, I would always say, Carl, you got to get the F out of here. You got to get out of here and tattoo. You got to like, you were always so miserable no matter where we were at, especially factory. Like, I could almost see, like, your soul draining away when you were in a factory. And, like, you are a creature not made to punch a time clock. Okay? But at the same time, I know there's a whole other side of that stress. I don't got to punch a time clock, but I'm my own boss. That means I have to drum everything up. How do you deal with that, man? Like,
that is a constant struggle for me. I've got ADHD.
Yeah.
And there's so many components to having to run your own business. Mm-hmm. One of the nicest parts about the studio that I just moved to is they do take care of a lot of the other stuff so that I don't have to worry about ordering supplies.
The micros.
All of those things. That way I can focus on art.
Okay. But are you like, all right, because now, like you said, it's not just you. Now you got mouths to feed. So now it's like, all right, now I have to hustle. I can't just go punch time clock, get a paycheck every Friday, 8 hours a day and completely shut it off when I go home. Do you feel that? Do you feel that like blood pressure? Do you feel?
Oh my God! This year was the worst of it because I had full custody of my kids.
Yeah.
For a majority of this year, they weren't even going to their moms on the weekends, and so I had no time to work. And I don't, their grandparents out there help as much as they can, but logistically, where I lived, where they live, where the shop I was working at is, other help that I had is all so far away and separated. Like making all of these things fit together, it was a lot of stress. This year was probably one of the biggest struggles that I've ever gone through as an artist, and that's even putting it up against COVID. Plus the way that you have to hustle now is so much different than it was 10 years ago. 15, 16, 17 years ago when I first got into the tattoo industry was different. It was so much word of mouth, going out and talking to people. Now it's, you got to do this dog and fucking pony show on TikTok, man, and I don't even really know. Yeah, I don't know how to use TikTok. I know how to use Instagram, kind of, but they keep changing that every other week. So, like, there's all of this, adapting and changing things around and having to think on your feet to drum up business, to bring people in, and there is another level of stress. I'm just kind of getting to a point now where things are starting to level out. Their mom moved closer, so their mom is now, participating. We're doing a 50-50 split now with the kids. So, she's got the kids half the time I do. So now I can work a little bit more. Now it's easier to hustle and focus on work when there's dedicated times to focus on work. To all the single moms, single dads out there that struggle, like, dude, I see you. It's hard, man. Like, when you have all the pressures of putting food in the fridge, making sure the rent's paid, doing all of this stuff, and you are looking at your calendar and you've got maybe 16 hours that week that you can even get to work because that's all you can find sitter coverage for. That's terrifying. And to watch the world become more expensive every other week while that's your situation, and there's, my family is 5 hours away. Like, they
can't just pop by and watch kids.
Yeah, my mom did actually come out and help throughout this year.
That's awesome.
Which was great. My mom's a substitute teacher for I think Calvary and Tiffin City schools, but she took some time to come out and help out, which was amazing. I'm super lucky. I'm super fortunate that she was able to do that. But it really is hard. It's hard to balance out all of the components of being a tattooer. When you first start being a tattooer, it's it's all fun and games. Like, you don't have dependents, you don't have all this stuff. Like, you feel like a rock star. Then reality sets in and you realize that you're an adult running a business and you've got to answer emails. You have to set up a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
You have to figure out a marketing budget. You have to do all of this. Very fortunate the studio I work at now takes care of a lot of the marketing. Because trying to figure out marketing the past 2 years on top of everything else going on, it was a nightmare.
Dude, just this last week of trying to figure out Instagram and then like trying to talk to you about it for those 5 minutes before this. No.
It's a lot.
Dude, I hate it.
It's a lot.
I can't do it. No. So you probably aged a couple of years this year?
Probably aged a year this week.
Hell yeah. So, let's kind of wrap things up. The main focus of this is, men's health, whether it's spiritual, mental, physical. And I think we've kind of covered all that. But to pull it all together, I keep falling back on love, man, because for better or for worse, love is what makes the world go round. Whether it's a lack of love, and then we turn people into enemies, or what keeps our community thriving, as big or as small as it is, a family or a full town. What is love to you?
Man, love is... I feel like love is just a genuine appreciation for somebody, regardless of, unconditional love, I guess, is the easiest way to say it, but, like, it's something that, like, I learned from my kids. Like, I've struggled with self-love. Like, I spent a lot of my life hating myself.
I think a lot of men do.
Yeah. And it is something that everybody struggles with, I think, to a certain degree. And, seeing your kids, you see that part of you when you were a kid, and you think back to, like, when did I start hating myself? And, like, you don't ever want your kids to feel that way. And you start to kind of, like, recognize, like, the way you should, you should be easier on yourself. You should love yourself. Like, you hear if you can't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. And then when you have, my kids, I'm like, man, I want to love the parts of myself that maybe I took for granted, because I love those aspects in my daughters. So I think love is so complicated because there's a lot of different facets, and there's a lot of, trying to rediscover that over the years as you grow, and sometimes grow colder, or, I think love is this complex emotion that we're going to adapt to the more we grow, and just being able to appreciate yourself and the people in your life for who they actually are, and not these idealized versions of what you think,
Love them for who they are, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, because so many times we try to, like, whether it's a, like a boyfriend or girlfriend situation, you're like, you have this ideal partner in your head, and so many times, like, when I was younger, like, I'd try and force these people into these jars that I could have on the shelf. Be like, look at my partner, as opposed to taking them, accepting them for who they are, but then helping each other grow, getting rid of the negative together, and then finding the positive together to grow. And when I have that now, it's been rough. It's 15 years, and we still are figuring that out.
Yeah.
But I mean, that love does carry us.
Yeah.
So I mean, but to my point, you're right. Love changes, ebbs and flows, like a river, whatever sort of stupid metaphor you want to use, but it's true.
Yeah.
All those poems are true. I mean, there's a reason probably Shakespeare's been around for so long.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
He was on to something. At some point.
But so can you point? I love hearing this. Can you point to something where, like, say, talk about culture. Can you go to the Chicago Museum of Art and see a painting or a sculpture, or, like, when you're music or whatever it is, a poem, and you can look at and be like, that is love.
That I think is a little bit more tricky, but
finding a piece of art's trickier than trying to define love. Are you kidding me?
I think
that's the artist in you. That's the pretentious artist in you right there.
Well, no. It's harder. It's harder to find a piece of art that defines love in the way that I perceive it. But I think there is a piece by Greg Crayola-Simpkins, who's like a graffiti artist, video game design, like, concept artist, and acrylic painter. He's amazing. But he did a series. There's a book out there. It's called Drawn from the Well, and there is, like, a little boy in this, like, loose-fitting, like, Batman Halloween costume, and he's got, I want to say he's in, like, a box, and he's like looking out, but, like, I love the juxtaposition of the seriousness of it, and then this little kid, and, like, to me, like, that just takes me back to, like, the nostalgia of being a kid and, playing and just finding this adventure in the world. I don't know if that quite defines love, but maybe it touches on, thinking back to, loving who you were as a kid. Mm-hmm. And that, touching on self-love, and, like, I don't know, that piece has always, like, triggered like an emotion in my brain. I'll try and find it and send it over to you.
Dude, I completely appreciate where you're coming from, because, I mean, you touched about, seeing your kids and not wanting them to feel that way and just let them be kids and the innocence. But for all of those reasons and seeing and I love seeing Max, there's a reason we have a laundry basket full of weapons and all the Legos and the action figures to see them build those worlds. And there's a reason Calvin and Hobbes, because at the end of the day, that is a boy and his stuffed tiger and his imagination and how he sees the world. And if anybody has self-love, Calvin has self-love.
Yeah.
And I think that ties in perfectly. I really do. That's cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Dude, definitely.
So, because I feel like that's right up my alley. Like, I could see, and some little boy was a homemade Batman cowl, and I'm sure that box he's in is the baddest Batmobile that you've ever had. You know what I mean? Like, it's every Batmobile into one and better.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. We'll put your socials in the bottom, tag you and everything. I appreciate you, man.
Dude,
I really do,
you, dude.
Brother.
I love you, dude.
I love you.
I'm glad I got to do this. This was great, man.
I absolutely loved every minute of it. Everybody, like, share, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Remember, if we can help one person, it's all worth it. So, be good to each other, love yourself, and we'll see you next time.